Some of you feel like you are barely going to make it to the end of the semester. You already feel burned out. You're already doubting whether you have made the right decision to homeschool, and you're not entirely sure that you have it in you to get till May. This video might be exactly what you need. Today, I want to talk about how you can make the mid-year switch to simplified homeschooling. Now, if you don't know what simplified homeschooling is, then you might actually want to start with that video because that's going to lay out the entire philosophy and idea behind this approach. The general idea is that it's kind of like unschooling, but with boundaries. I liken it to the idea of when you go bowling and you get to put those bumpers up in the gutters so that you don't get a gutter ball. It's actually an approach to homeschool that I created when I realized that I love the idea of unschooling, but there were just too many things that I felt very strongly that as a parent, it was my responsibility to make sure my kids learned. And so I could never fully buy into the unschooling idea. And so I created simplified homeschooling. Now, if you do know what simplified homeschooling is and you think that you might want to make that switch, then the very first thing you need to do is to make sure that you have spent time deschooling. Now, if you launched into your homeschool adventure without ever taking time to deschool, or if you focused your deschooling efforts on your child more than yourself, then you, the parent, absolutely need to take some time to deschool. Now, deschooling is the idea of detoxing ourselves from the conventional approach to education. And that might not sound like something you need to do if you've been homeschooling. But the problem is that if you never did that in the first place, then all of your homeschooling has been done with a conventional mindset, either fully in your mind or somewhere in the back. And chances are it's been influencing a lot of your decisions. And a lot of times that is why homeschooling doesn't work for people, because they launch into their adventure without ever taking the time to get that conventional idea out of their head. Now, in the description of this video, I'm going to link to my most favorite deschooling resource. It's going to help you get through that process way faster than it usually takes so that you can start reaping the benefits of deschooling like in a matter of weeks, as opposed to a matter of months or even years, which is how long deschooling can sometimes take. Now, if you have deschooled yourself, then the next thing that you need to do is wait until after the holidays. But here's what you should do during the holidays. When you get to Thanksgiving, I say, be done for the rest of the semester. Use that time to decompress, to focus on relationship with your kids, to focus on the holidays and all the fun stuff, to do some life learning, and to allow yourself to let go of all of the frustration that you've had this semester. If you try to keep limping along with the approach that you don't really like, that you don't really feel is working for you, you're just going to get more and more frustrated. And then you're going to start to feel guilty that you're not doing more school. And it becomes this whole cycle that you do not want to mess with, right? So much better instead to just acknowledge, hey, you know what? We're going to do something totally new in January. So we are going to call it quits with what we're doing right now at this specific time, whether that's this week, whether that's right now, whether that's Thanksgiving break, whatever you want it to be. And then until the end of the semester, what we're going to do is just focus on fill in the blank, whatever it is that you want to focus on. Maybe you're just going to sit around and do a lot of reading as a family. That is a great thing to do, actually. There are a lot worse ways that you can spend your time. But point is, do not worry about this season. Everybody tends to slack off a little bit at the holidays anyway. And so you might as well just let all that go, fully immerse yourself in the holidays, enjoy yourself there. And then know that in January, you're going to launch with something that is way more fun, way less stressful, not nearly as likely to put you into burnout, and something that your kids and you are both really going to enjoy. Now, you might also be thinking, man, I spent so much money on all this curriculum. I know that simplified homeschooling doesn't use a lot of curriculum. Can I really bear to let all of this go and waste my money? A couple of things to think about. First of all, you don't have to waste it. A lot of families start their homeschooling journey in January. So you may be able to sell off a lot of what you have to families that are just now getting started. The other thing too is that you can always save that curriculum for later use. Just because you're not using it right now as your main curriculum does not mean that it's completely useless. It's a resource, just like books at the library and YouTube videos and Lots of other things are just resources. So you can absolutely keep that curriculum, and you may find that you come back to it occasionally for one particular activity, or because, hey, this textbook has a really good section on World War II and my kid's really interested in that right now. So, hey, here's a book. Let's use this to learn a little bit more about that. You might find that you want to be able to use curriculum just now and then to kind of fill in some gaps. You might find that you want this curriculum later, is the point that I'm trying to make. So don't feel like you're wasting it just because it's not going to be a main ingredient in your homeschool at this stage of the game when you go into simplified homeschooling. Feel free to pack it away. Feel free to maybe just put it on a shelf so you don't forget it's there, but don't worry about the fact that you spent the money on it and you're not using it. Because here's the thing, you could keep using it and you would be miserable. And what is more important, your mental health or the money that you've already spent? Not like you're going to suddenly get it all back. It's okay, right? To say that my mental health is more important than slogging through a book that I am absolutely hating. Okay. So it's okay. Don't worry about wasting it. It's not a waste. And then the last thing I would say is go all in. Don't say, well, I like this part of simplified homeschooling and this part, but I really feel like we need to shore it up with this curriculum and this extra activity and all of this different stuff. Part of why you're struggling right now is probably because you're burnt out from all the stuff. The idea is to let go of all of these things, go back to a bare minimum that doesn't just give you bare minimum education. It's actually going to lay the foundation for a rich, enjoyable, very wide and deep education. It's just going to look different from what you've been doing. And so if you go into it thinking that it's not enough, that it's something that you really need to kind of supplement and add things to, then you're just going to find yourself right back here in this place of frustration and burnout, probably somewhere around April. And then you're going to think, my gosh, I thought things were going to change when I started doing it this way. Well, they would have, except you didn't actually do it the way it was meant to be done. When you go into simplified homeschooling, it's going to feel at times like it's not enough. You need to step back and take a high level view of what's going on in your homeschool and what you'll be able to do with this approach as you continue in it. Simplified homeschooling absolutely will be enough, but if you haven't deschooled yourself enough first, it's not going to feel that way. So we go right back to step number one. Make sure you spend time deschooling. In fact, if you today said, you know what, we are pressing pause on our homeschool, and I, as a parent, am going to spend the rest of this semester focusing on my deschooling. And guess what, kids? You're going to get like the world's longest Christmas break. They're not going to be disappointed. And you're going to be able to really immerse yourself in this process of detoxing yourself so that you can fully embrace everything that simplified homeschooling has to offer. If you haven't done that, then you're not going to be able to go all in. And chances are you're going to find yourself right back in this place of frustration in just a few months. Now, I hope you will also check out the Simplified Homeschooling Framework, which is going to walk you through every step of setting up your homeschool in this approach. It will help you figure out how to teach all of the subjects, all of the 7 pillars that the simplified homeschooling approach is built on, and it will give you the confidence that you need to know that you really are doing this right. I'll have more information about that down in the description. I am excited for you to try the simplified homeschooling approach, and I can't wait to hear how it goes.